Peace Remnants, IG, Weirdo Gang Gang, it's Cancer, the Oracle, one half of Remnants Gathering, and we wanted to make sure that we did the show today because we said the Sundays we've been committing ourselves to release new information every Sunday. And so I received some channel messages. I have received a very Akashic record dream. And so I'm going to tell you all about the dream that I had. I'm going to go over with you all some of the light codes that I have received and anything. And then Ernest is going to expound upon some of the light codes that we have received. So this is just a brief overview of what to expect in this video. So get your pen and paper, take your notes, and write down what resonates with you the most. And yeah, let's do this. So for this segment, I'm gonna go over with you what I receive about men handling the wounds of a woman and her heart. So I've been working on healing my heart. I've been working on healing my womb. And so I feel like this is something really important for everybody on the soul awakening path. Fellas, it is unfortunate, but this is true. You have not been properly educated about the spiritual anatomy, about the anatomy of a woman, about the connection between a woman's heart and her womb. You all just have not been educated on those things. Books like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, it was interesting for me to read these books. However, the typical path that a lot of us have went through, it didn't teach us to understand each other on an energetic, spiritual level. So as women are more magnetic and men are more electrical in nature. So this is something really basic that is important for a man to begin learning so that he is able to anchor himself as a divine masculine incarnate who's not going to mishandle the divine feminine out of ignorance and lack of knowledge, or knowledge that is inaccurate knowledge. So it is very important that men, and even women too, because a lot of us don't know that our yoni, and yoni is the Sanskrit word representing your female reproductive organs, your womb, okay? This is where wealth is manifested. All creation of life, every being walking this earth had to come through the portal of the womb. So fellas, by you not understanding this means that you can be the cause of harm to a woman just by how you interact with her on an intimate physical level, and also the way you interact with her on an energetic level. And because we are more right brain and sometimes more expressive of our emotions, this makes it difficult for men to understand women. So the best way, let me give you a resource, book or teacher that will help people, ladies and fellas, for y'all to understand the energetics of a man and a woman. The Way of the Superior Man. This audio book can be found on YouTube. This book is really good for men to study so that they can learn how to master themselves and learn more about the woman as well. For you ladies, Queen Afua has written a book, Sacred Womb, and there are many others. Miss Blue, she talks about the energetic anatomy of the womb and the yoni and the woman and the connection to what manifests and the things that are in our reality. Okay, so these are just a couple of things that you can use as resources. We recommend that you do your own research. So do your research. But if I want to express to you how bad this situation is right now, with the way we do not understand the energetic, spiritual anatomy of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, it would be equivalent to a woman having oral sex with a man using her teeth because she doesn't know that teeth hurt and is causing damage. This is how bad that situation is. Guys, you all have unconsciously, subconsciously, and sometimes consciously caused harm and damage to the divine feminine, whether it's in the past or even right now. And it's only because you don't know. You don't know. And when you are not informed, the only thing that can happen as a result of not having instructions for something is the misuse and abuse of it. So ladies, our wombs have been abused. Our yonis have been abused. They have not been adored, loved, and cherished as the portal in which all life enters from the unseen world into this world. And that's huge alone. And by learning about these things, by doing meditations to clear karma, to clear energetic cords, this is going to allow you to not re-traumatize the womb of a woman. And ladies, this will allow you to not allow your womb to be re-traumatized and begin healing your womb.
Yeah, y'all know throughout this whole process of us basically sharing our twin flame experience, some of the things that we done talked about in the past, and the reality of how we've not been truly knowledgeable about how we deal with the opposite sex. And I'm talking to the men, I'm talking to my brothers out here. The way in which we deal with our women, man, I've learned that vulnerability is a huge aspect of truly connecting to our women. Me dealing with myself and learning and mastering myself, coming to learn that when I am vulnerable, when I am coming from the heart, me and Cam's connection is phenomenal. It's strong. It's clarity. Our communication, the depth of our communication, it continues to unlock more and more and more spiritual significance. It unlocks emotional hindrances that may have had. It allows us to be able to connect again on a greater and deeper level. And so we can't stress the importance of us coming from the heart. I can't stress the importance of us coming from the heart, man. I was talking to a brother of mine, and I was just expressing to him that in order to really connect with your woman, in order to have the type of trust and the type of bond that you want with your mate, you have to go deep. You know what I'm saying? Time is out for all of these surface and shallow relationships. That's the reason why when something happens and where you thought you had someone that was with you through thick and thin, a person can get ghost. You know what I'm saying? And decisions are made based off of one person's perspective. And instead of you all being able to confide in one another and agree upon a decision to be made, someone will say, well, I ain't know, but I just did what was best, and I made the decision based on what I thought would have been the best. And so that's one thing that we as men, we have to be in touch with. We have to definitely tear down all of the misconceptions that we've had and how we've thought that we knew what women want, and we know what it takes to truly pull out the greatness in our mates, the greatness in our women. And the only way that we can do that is by tapping into ourselves and becoming more vulnerable with our women, becoming more open, more heart connected with our women. You know, and again, this right here is definitely for those men who have been through the stages of what, wanting to play games. You know what I'm saying? And when I say play games, I'm talking about, playing those. I got my main, I got my side, I might have other couple of play things. You know what I'm saying? This is, if that's where you are in your life, which I doubt. If you listening to this video, I very likely doubt that you're at that place. You in a place to where you locked in and you all about connecting with your divine feminine counterpart, and you two elevating and you having that type of relationship that people only dream about. And so again, come from your heart, get in your heart. And if it's difficult for you to get in your heart, it's ways to it's a lot of information out here that will help you to be able to get back in tune and get back online with your own heart, and being aware of how you're feeling within yourself, in order for you to be able to connect the heart of your woman. And when you do that, when you begin to do that, and you all begin to have a sense of sacredness and sacred space that you all mutually share with each other, man, the effects of experiencing the fullness of y'all romantic relationship from a spiritual perspective, from an emotional perspective, from that physical perspective, it will be mind-blowing.
Okay, so in this segment, I'm going to share with you a light code that I received this a long time ago, but it finally has resurfaced as something that is really important. So basically, if you're noticing a continuity with the video today, you're noticing that things are addressing family dynamics, relationships, children, spouses, the divine feminine, divine masculine, how we deal with each other. And so all of this information is coming through now because we are in a time of clearing that karma and being able to evolve in the areas of family, relationships to others and ourselves. So me and Ernest had a few times where we disagreed about discipline for our children, and specifically was for our 5-year-old daughter. And he would tell her he was going to whoop her, he would spank her, and for a while I didn't feel right about it, and I just didn't really say anything. And then when I started working with Yemiya, when I started working with Isis, and I had already began working with Segment, that's when these messages began to come to me very clear and with a lot of authority, that it was my job to listen and take heed to the spiritual teachings about this, so that the re-traumatizing that we have been doing unconsciously can stop. It can end. It can dissolve. So the message is this: when a father physically put his hands on his daughter, this is me speaking from my inner child now. In that moment, the person who you look to make you feel safe and says that they will protect you, in that moment, they feel like a stranger who is putting their hands on you. In that moment, you don't feel like this is my father that loves me. In that moment, you feel confused. In that moment, your heart is broken because you have sense enough to know that you're taught not to put your hands on anybody, yet the person who is supposed to protect you is putting their hands on you. This is a breeding ground for a lot of psychotraumatic pain, stress, post-traumatic pain, confusion. And this also sets the tone for the type of men that this young lady, this daughter, this girl will be attracted to. And I can firsthand attest to that. Another reason, from my perspective, the way it was given to me by my goddess is this shouldn't be done because a man it is his job to protect. Okay. And so if you are the one doing something to me physically that hurts, how can I feel safe with you? And even today, I struggle with feeling safe with Ernest. I still don't 100% feel safe and fully secure, as if I don't have to worry, be concerned about anything. He got it. I don't feel that way. And there are times when his anger can be explosive. And in these moments, it takes me back to when I was that little girl with this father figure whooping me and spanking me and telling me he's doing it because he loves me. And I grew up to be attracted to men who were very aggressive and would get physical and emotionally and mentally abusive. And that wasn't a red alert for me because it was familiar. So I had already had the program, the foundations of the program downloaded that wasn't going to allow that to feel wrong to me. So this takes away the ability for your daughter to feel safe. And it just puts her on a path of being attracted to men who are going to fit into that same vibration. And in their mind, it's going to translate as, this means that he loves me because this is what my own father did if I did something he didn't like.
So, men, brothers, man, how do we deal with this new conscious parenting? One of the things that I have learned over this short period of time, since we have awakened and getting to know our higher selves, as a man, as a father, my responsibility in nurturing especially we're talking about our daughters. And I'm learning because I was under the program of, man, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. That old programming was a imprint on me, and so that is the way that I responded, and the tendency I had to deal with every situation in regards to being a parent, how raising my children, and it affected me to the point to even to this day, dissolving some of those patterns and those tendencies and thought forms of that program of, you gotta whoop your child. You know what I'm saying? Me and Cam took a whole different approach as to how we were going to begin to start raising our children as we came into consciousness. And especially from acknowledging how much trauma that was in our lives, as we begin to do the shadow work and really go deep and realize that, man, a lot of the stuff that we deal with, a lot of the trauma, whether it was from neglect, whether it was from some form of abuse, it stuck with us. And so what we were, in essence, about to do was to just pass that on. And that's where the generational curse comes from. That's where the generational dysfunction comes from. It's from us as parents. We look at it like, oh no, that's the devil. But guess what? You know what I'm saying? That evil, if that's how we want to categorize it and look at it, that exists within us because it was passed down. And so the same things that well, if it was good for grandmama, or if it was good for mama, it's good for me. And if it was good for me, it's good for my children. You know what I'm saying? We got to break them cycles, because that's all they are. You know what I'm saying? They're cycles, and it's 2019, and that don't mean just because it was beneficial and that's what they thought was what worked, it works for us today and how we raise our children. Because one thing for certain, basically there was all abuse, because our ancestors that were slaves were whooped, beat, and mistreated to the utmost. And guess what? That was in our DNA, that was passed down to our great grandparents, which in essence passed it down to our grandparents, which in essence passed it down to our parents. And then here we are, as 4 generations later, doing the same things. And so we are at that place now that we're consciously breaking the cycle. We're breaking it. We're no longer taking the approach of, no, I got to put my hands on my child. And so as it relates to our personal experience, and how earlier on, my tendency was, okay, if my daughter got out of line, or she did something, I told her to do it. I gave her some instructions and she didn't follow them, or she was in my mind being disrespectful or hard headed, or whatever you want to call it. I felt that, okay, well, let me get the belt. Let me spank her on the leg. Let me spank her. Let me spank her, and that was all the problem. Let me spank her, and that would cause a change of conduct, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And that's wrong, because at the end of the day, that's abuse. That's terror. I'm putting it on my young daughter. The I'm the individual in her life, the male part in her life, that should be a person of security, a person of nothing but love, a person that she can just jump into my arms and she'll know that she's safe with me. But on contrary to that, she was receiving fear. She was receiving disconnect. She was receiving anger, frustration, all at the hands of who? Dad. And so I'm just wanting to express this to my men out here who are fathers. As a father, search for an alternative in ways to discipline your children, especially your daughters. But don't get me wrong, it goes for our sons too, because we will still be expressing some unfavorable characteristics that will be imprinted upon our young men. You know what I'm saying? And 9 times out of 10 nowadays, when you look at it, physical abuse is not what reaches a person. Basically, what reaches someone is what comes from your heart. And so get in your heart, brothers, get in your heart, fathers, get in your heart, as it relates to being able to connect with your children, connect with your daughters, and in essence be able to impact some and effect the right decision making and effect discipline. That's what we have to do. We're no longer in that old dimension of time or dispensation of time to where we got to handle things the way it was handled way back when. We're rewriting history, because we're coming into the awareness and reawakening into who we are. That all we got to do is speak the words and manifest what it is we are desiring to manifest. So men, let's check that as it relates to how we treat our daughters. Because one thing is for certain, when we put our hands on our women in any way, it's viewed as abuse. Whether that's your wife, whether that's your sister, whether that's your mother, if you put your hands on that woman, an adult woman, if you put your hands on them in any kind of way, that's considered abuse. And most women in their right mind, they won't even stand for it. So if that's abuse to our women, why isn't it not abuse to our young daughters? Because we call ourselves correcting our young daughters and helping our young daughters. So when your wife get wrong or your girlfriend get wrong and you feel like you want to correct them, it's putting your hands on them, or it's getting a belt and whooping them, or getting some and hitting them and touching them to correct them. Is that acceptable? No, it's not acceptable. So doing that with our daughters is not acceptable. And so I just want to encourage you all to think that over. Think that again. Let that sit on you and just meditate on that and see if what is being said as it relates to how we love, nurture, and discipline and raise our children. Our conscious awareness needs to increase to where we're doing everything in love and from the heart, and no longer egotistically handling any of these situations.
Okay, so in this segment, I'm going to go over with you a dream that I had, and this is really deep, y'all. This is so deep. This is so profound. I always petition and met a prayer. Even sometimes while Ernest is sleeping, I'm doing this. And I'm always asking that my gifts and my abilities can be used to help him. How can I help him? How can I help him? So this particular night, it wasn't anything specific that I did to have this dream. But I fell asleep. And like I said, I didn't have an intention set to get an answer in a dream that night. And I ended up going to sleep, waking up in his bed at his house as a kid. And I was him. It was the first time I've ever fully went into somebody else's life like that. When I do readings, I do that to help read the cards in a manner that is coming from your own soul's experience. But because this was not intentional and I didn't have full control over what was happening, and I was conscious of what was happening, so I knew that I was in his body. I knew that I was in his old house. And some of the experiences, because I was in this dream for about 4 hours, I experienced his whole childhood from 4 up to his teenage years. And in that experience, he did not experience affection. He did not experience appraisals. He experienced a lot of warden-like parenting techniques. So you're going to sit here at this table and do this homework, and you're not eating dinner until you finish doing it. It was that kind of thing. And it was all the time. And if something was wrong, or if I didn't do it the way, his mom wanted me to do it, I would get popped for it. And it might be a wood spoon one day, a spatula, it could be a ruler, a comb, just whatever, a brush. And so it developed in me because I didn't. So I just remember feeling cold, lonely, and there was this way she would look at me, and I knew that she was displeased. And without saying anything, the facial expression, if I was to give words to it, it would be like, you know what? You just stupid. I done showed you how to do that. I don't know how many times. You still ain't got it. It don't even surprise me that you still can't do that. It don't even surprise me. It was like that kind of facial expression. Like, I didn't even expect for you to know how to do it right. I didn't, And I was antagonized. And even when I was trying to study for a test, she was sitting right there with something in her hand for if I answered the question wrong or did something wrong, or seemed like I was taking too long. And it was just this constant overbearing, not allowing me, not trusting me to do what I know I should do, to study, to do good on the test. And so that it made me nervous, and it made me where I couldn't really think. I definitely wasn't able to study at my best because she would always be sitting right over me pertaining to anything pertaining to schoolwork. It was like a constant thing. So when as I got home from school, it's like backpack down and to the table, do your homework. And it would be hours. And if I would piss her off enough, it was some nights where I was just sent to my room and I didn't even eat nothing, And it was just really, it was like being a prisoner in the body of a child with a warden who was just not emotionally available. And so as I grew up, I remember moments where I was compared to a sibling. And it would be like, look, now you had your clothes on for 10 minutes and you dirty. But your sister ain't dirty. She had her clothes on hours before you did because I had to do her hair. Why you always messing up? It was like that. It was like finger pointed at you. It's like every time I would hear my name called, I already knew I was finna get in trouble for something. So I hated to hear my name called. And it just got to the point where I just carried myself in like this very compliant manner, where it was like I don't even have no fight in me. I'm just gonna comply. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm gonna comply. And another element of it was she would get on the phone or be talking to somebody over there, knowing that he can hear it or I can hear it, about how disappointed my actions have made them. So if I brought a C home and I studied all week for the test, the whole conversation would be about just how I can't never do shit right. And I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. You know what? It was constant. It was constant. It was nonstop. And then when I would bring home a good grade, I didn't receive the same amount of celebration, equal amount of celebration as I did of punishment, if that makes sense. The scales were not balanced at all. And it would have made it more tolerable if I knew this was a parent I could look to comfort me, nurture me, and celebrate me. So if I'm being punished, but you still do those things, then it's not going to have as much of a negative impact. But because I wasn't getting the emotional connection, the emotional availability, it made the punishments just feel like torture. It was just torturous. And when I woke up, my hands were shaking. And the whole time I was lucid. So I knew I was experiencing his life and in his body the whole time. And that was a whole other element to trauma for me, because it's like I'm having to go through this script. And I can't change the script in the script. I have been projected into his childhood for the purposes of being able to help him reparent himself and heal. So it was no way out but going through it and in it. And I want to say that if there is no other sign that I haven't ever heard anybody share about twin flames, it's the ability to put yourself wholeheartedly, fully into their shoes and experience life from their perspective. This was definitely a very strong sign of our twin flame union.
Man, when Cam told me she had the dream, and basically she was able to relive my early childhood and preteen life. Man, that wow. just to know that your mate was able to experience, for me, experience some of the stuff that I went through, and was able to see some of the core roots of why I have some of the issues and tendencies I have. Man, but I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for it, and I truly know that when you both have a desire to help one another through healing, to help each other be the best version of yourselves, that you can tap into these types of things, especially as an empath. And so her experiencing that and her telling me about it, it was as she was explaining some of the scenarios and explaining what she saw, and man, explain the treatment. I was just, because a lot of this stuff I had suppressed and totally forgot about it. That's one of the reasons that I grew up to become a dismissive avoidant. That's a technical term of an attack. That's a attachment style that I became a dismissive avoidant, and that was because, man, some of the shit that I went through, that was the way that I coped with it, to just dismiss it. You know what I'm saying? And you know, in order for everything to be smooth and pleasant, I had to avoid doing a lot of stuff so I won't get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so for her to share with me some of the things that she felt and experienced and how my mom was, man, it stung, but at the same time, it helped to bring clarity to me because, like I say, a lot of that stuff, when it's painful, even when you're going through something that's painful, especially when you don't have anyone and you are not, we talking about me being a child. Like, I didn't get no counseling. I ain't never got no counseling for none that I done been through. Now that I'm well, an elder, an adult, you know what I'm saying? I'm seeing the need for it, man. You know what? I need to revisit. I need to see a counselor. You know what I'm saying? And that is only to help put the fragments back together. That's what these individuals have been trained to do, to help people to work through their psychological issues. You know what I'm saying? Um, and one thing that's for certain, through her being able to experience my experiences, was it brings us closer, because it gives her a glimpse as to, man, you know what I'm saying? She was so traumatized herself coming out of the dream. And she said she woke up trembling. She woke up shaking. She said it took everything for her to not make a phone call and ask questions as to why, how. She said it took everything in her to stay in her place, so to speak, and not go there, because it would possibly cause my mother to go into some form of a downward spiral psychologically herself, because this is something that she's possibly ashamed of. These are those dark secrets that you don't ever want to rehash. You don't ever want to deal with. And so I'm pretty sure these are a lot of things that she suppressed. But all in all, I am so grateful for her being able to have that experience. And it was all because she desires to help me. She loves me and she desires to see me whole. There were other connections that came to the surface as related to her being able to go back. And like I said, it brought some things full circle for me to understand, oh, that's why I respond like I respond. Oh, that's the reason why I can shut down and not have to deal with it and feel okay about it. Because these are some patterns that I formed, or no, those were the ways in which I made good of the situation. Those are the ways that I as a young person said, this is how I'm gonna handle it. And so if I just do this, I'm okay.
Okay, so this segment, we're going to discuss soul gazing. Now, soul gazing, a lot of people have a lot of different techniques that they use, but we're going to describe to you the technique that the goddesses, my goddesses taught me that we use. And if you have been having any type of love attachments that's not secure, this is definitely going to feel awkward for you. Mm-hmm. And no matter how many times we do it, we always have to feel that awkward feeling. So don't let that stop you. Just keep going, and the awkwardness will dissolve itself. Mm-hmm. So in soul gazing, what you are doing is staring into the soul of yourself or the soul of another, okay? And you allow the Akashic Records to be accessed. And so how do you do this, you say? You don't have to think about how to do it. Just staring into your eyes or someone else's eyes, you're going to start hearing keywords. You're going to start getting feelings. You're going to start having thoughts. Okay, that is the Akashic Records being accessed, because it's just like looking in the window of a library. Mm-hmm. You're peeking in the window to that library, and so you're able to see titles of books. Mm-hmm. This is basically what soul gazing is. So once we do that, then we'll begin saying the words that come to us. Mm-hmm. I see that you are in a lot of pain, but you are determined to complete this task. I see your resilience, but I also see your kindness. This is just us just going through what we see. I see. This is what I see. Mm-hmm. I feel like. So the words you're going to use, I see, I feel like, mm-hmm. because you may just be getting feelings and not words. Mm-hmm. And as you keep doing this, the information gets deeper and deeper and deeper with each cycle. Mm-hmm. that you go of calling out what you see within your soul, mm-hmm. or the soul of another. Mm-hmm. And so this is the way that we soul gaze. We typically stare at the left eye for each other. It's kind of difficult to try to look at both eyes. Right. So focus on more so one eye. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, you don't have to have been practicing your intuitive and psychic abilities to be able to do this. This is something that, because of the alignment, and we are in the age of Aquarius, this is something that all of us can do, because if you are on this spiritual path, this means that this is something that you are capable of doing, because these messages come through us, but they are for the collective. Mm-hmm. So don't go into it thinking that you can't do it. You probably will surprise yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing it by yourself, write down the things that come to you, because this is your higher self expressing and communicating your essence to you, through you, by you staring into your eyes.
Yeah. And so soul gazing, the way that we definitely continue to connect. We talked about it being one of our intimate exercises or practices that we try to employ on a regular basis. It helps us to stay in that sacred space for each other, where we just look into each other's eyes. We look into each other's eyes, and in not too much time, different thoughts, different words will begin to come to mind, and we just take turns. We take turns and express ourselves back and forth. I'll tell her, and it's also it's uplifting, because in most cases when you soul gazing, you're talking about that individual and what you see in that individual from a heart place, and that person is doing the same, talking about you from a heart place. So we're not talking about our actions, we're talking about from a soul perspective, from the soul perspective of you being an individual who has love and compassion and concern and care for that individual. And it's so uplifting. It's so encouraging. It's so connecting. And so, soul gaze.